Hey guys, so today we're going to learn how to factor quadratics where a is greater than 1. So we are going to use something called the X method, and currently this looks very intimidating. So I really don't even want you to pay attention to that just yet, okay? I'm going to walk you through an example, and the example will help you, shoot, I can't even talk. As we do more examples, this over here will make more sense to you. So ignore all the jumble for now. Don't get overwhelmed by that. So let's look at number 13. We know that whenever we factor, we're trying to get down to two binomials. But if we just put x in for both of these, when we go to do the FOIL method, we're just going to get x squared. But we need a 2x squared. So I'm going to show you a method that works every single time for factoring these. And I've also included a Khan Academy video that explains it a little differently in case this is just not clicking with you. That's perfectly fine. I don't really mind how you do it as long as you learn how to do it properly and you can do it correctly. So if we look over here at the X method, we have ax squared plus bx plus c. And in the top of the x, we want to put a times c. So that is 2 times 18. That's going to give us 36. Then in the bottom, we're going to put b, which is negative 15. And what we want for the sides is this is the part, once you set the x up, now is the part where we factor like we've been factoring. So we want two numbers, b1 and b2, such that b1 times b2 is equal to a times c, which is this top number. So we want them to multiply to get 36, and then we want them to add to get negative 15, to get b, okay? So we want to multiply to get 36 and add to get negative 15. So this is where we need to choose our signs first. So we need to multiply to get a positive number. That means they either have to both be positive or both be negative. And if they have to add to be negative, that means they have to both be negative. So we know we're going to have two negative numbers. Now we need to list our factors of 36. We have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and then 6 and 6. That's all of them. So which two of these add up to be 15? That's going to be 3 and 12. And it doesn't matter what order we put these in because they're both negative. I'm going to write this a little bit neater. Okay, so I rewrote this to try to line up with our color coding over here so that we can just make more sense of everything that we're doing. So the next thing that we are going to do once we've chosen B1 and B2 is we are going to bring down this term. So we're going to have 2x squared. And then we're going to bring down this coefficient to be negative 3, and it goes with an x. So, hang on. So, when we bring down the negative 12, we're going to have minus 12x. And then finally, we bring down 18 from the top. So, plus 18. So I want you to see, like over here, ax squared gets brought down and c gets brought down. But bx is going to be split into b1x plus b2x. And so if you look here, negative 15x is what we used to have. Now we have negative 3x minus 12x. And we're trying to unsimplify this. So we don't want to combine like terms, but if we did, this would take us back to negative 15x. So we're just using this x to split that b value the b term into two different values. So once we get here, we are going to split our expression down the middle. And make sure you stay to the left of this sign here. You want to leave that sign on the right side. And then we are going to take the greatest common factor from each side. And that's what you see in blue over here. So out of 2x squared minus 3x, the only common factor that's in there is an x. So we can factor an x out. And that's going to leave us with 2x minus 3, okay? Because 2x squared divided by x is 2x, and negative 3x divided by x is negative 3. So then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. But something I want you to pay attention to is you are always going to keep this same sign. So you are always going to take out, if this is positive, you'll do positive, but it's negative in this case. So we're going to take something negative out. And the greatest common factor of 12x and 18 is going to be 6. And that's going to leave us with 2x minus 3. Because negative 12x divided by negative 6 is positive 2x. And positive 18 divided by negative 6 is negative 3. Okay, so once we have done this, you're going to notice that our two green terms are the same. And so if you look over here, we put those down as one of our final terms. So 2x minus 3 is going to be one of the factors of our trinomial. And then if you look at our blue greatest common factors, those are going to make up our other term. So we're going to have x minus 6. And I want to show you how, if we check our answer, we find out that this is correct. So we are going to take x minus 6 times 2x minus 3. And we're going to use the FOIL method. I've taught you this before, but I'm going to show it to you a little bit differently. So whenever you do the FOIL method, what you can do is you can say, I want to multiply the first numbers. So first times first, that gives us 2x squared. Let me write that a little further to the left, 2x squared. And then outside times outside is negative 3x. Inside times inside is negative 12x. And last times last is positive 18. Now, if you notice, all we did was we took the x and distributed it to both terms, and then we took negative 6 and distributed that to both terms. That's all the FOIL method is. It's just an acronym to help you remember exactly how to do that. But then we're going to combine like terms, and we get 2x squared minus 15x plus 18. And this matches this, so that means that this is the correct answer. And something else I want you to notice is whenever we do the FOIL method and we get this step right here, it matches this step exactly. So the X method is actually a way of like deconstructing the FOIL method. Okay, that was a lot to take in. So I'm just going to walk through several more examples with you, and we're just going to repeat this process until we fully understand it. So here, let's go ahead and look at another example. Okay, so I've gone ahead and set up the X for this problem because this is kind of the basics of what you need to remember whenever you are setting up the X method. You need to know that the top is A times C, the bottom is B, and we multiply to get the top and we add to get the bottom. So this is a good way to set up your X to remember everything you need to remember. So A times C in here is 3 times negative 40. 3 times negative 40 is negative 120. And then our B value is negative 19. Okay, So now we want to find B1 and B2, our two side numbers, to multiply to get negative 120 and add to get negative 19. So if they have to multiply to get a negative number, we have to have two different signs. So we're going to have one positive and one negative. And now we need those to have a difference of 19, because whenever you add things with opposite signs, you end up getting the difference of those. So let's look at factors of 120. We have 1 times 120, 2 times 60, 3 times 40, 4 times 30, 5 times 24. And we can go ahead and stop there because the difference in 5 and 24 is 19. So in order to add those together to get negative 19, we need a negative 24 and a positive 5. Okay, so now we are going to bring down all of our pieces. So we have 3h squared, and then we're going to bring down this and this and this. And I think making these symmetrical arrows helps keep me organized. So we have 3h squared plus 5h minus 24h minus 40. And I'm going to write over our b values in red just to help us keep them straight. So then we split this in half and take the greatest common factors out. And remember, the greatest common factor is the biggest number that goes into both of these evenly. And 3 and 5, the greatest common factor of those is just 1, so that's not going to do anything for us. But we can take an h out of h squared and h. And you should always be able to do that. You should always take at least the variable out on this side. So whenever we divide this whole side by h, we're going to end up with 3h plus 5. Then on the right side, we need to take a greatest common factor, and we always use the same sign as whatever's already there. So the biggest number that goes into 24 and 40 is going to be 8. So we're going to take out negative 8 as our greatest common factor. That's going to leave us with negative 24 divided by negative 8 is positive 3h, and then negative 40 divided by negative 8 is positive 5. And since these two are the same, that means we did good, and most likely we did this correctly. So that is one of our factors, 3h plus 5. And then our other factor is h minus 8. So this should be our answer. And I'm going to walk you through checking your answer one more time just to remind you how to use the FOIL method. And the way that I taught you before, so h minus 8 times 3h plus 5, the way that I had taught it previously was FOIL. First is h times 3h. That gives us 3h squared. The outside terms are h and 5. That gives us 5h. The inside terms are negative 8 and 3h. That gives us negative 24h. And then our last terms are negative 8 and 5. That gives us negative 40. So then we add all those together, 3h squared plus 5h minus 24h minus 40. And then combine like terms to get 3h squared minus 19h minus 40. And that is the same as this. So that means that our answer is correct. Now, all of our questions prior to this have not had a greatest common factor. And I did that because I wanted you to focus on learning the X method. But we always have to remember, no matter what, to check for a greatest common factor first. And in this case, 6, 15, and 21 are all divisible by 3. And this is just going to make your life easier, okay, if you do this. So we're going to take a 3 out, and that's going to leave us with 2y squared minus 5y minus 7. And we just divided every number by 3. And we are going to take this 3, and we're just going to kind of forget about it until the end. Okay, so I'm going to write it down here to go in front of our answer. And then we're going to just treat this as what we need to factor. So we're not going to, this 3 just moves down to the end. We're not worried about it anymore. So let's use this to make our x. So a times c is 2 times negative 7. That's negative 14. Our b value is negative 5. We want to multiply to get negative 14 and add to get negative 5. If we need to multiply to get a negative, that means we're going to have a positive and a negative. And the factors of 14 are 1 and 14, 2 and 7. 3 doesn't go, 4 doesn't go, 5 doesn't go, 6 doesn't go, 7 goes, but we've already done that. When you start repeating yourself, that means that you're done. You've got them all. So 2 and 7, we can make that into a negative 5 by having negative 7 and positive 2. All right. Then, once we've chosen those two values, we bring down the first term, we create 2 new middle terms, and we bring down the last term. So we have 2y squared plus 2y minus 7y minus 7, because remember, we're using this new version of our expression. Then we split it in half and take the greatest common factor. So 2y squared plus 2y has a common factor of 2y. So 2y squared divided by 2y is y, and 2y divided by 2y is 1. Then, on the right side, we have a greatest common factor of negative 7, because remember, we always use the same sign. Negative 7y divided by negative 7 is just positive y, and negative 7 divided by negative 7 is positive 1. So these two become one of our terms. And then 2y minus 7 is our other term. And this 3 that we brought down just goes in front of those. So our answer to this problem, I'm just going to rewrite it where you can read it easier, is 3 times 2y minus 7 times y plus 1. Sorry. So if you wanted to check your answer, you could FOIL these two, and then it would be 3 times 2y squared, let's see, minus 5y minus 7. That's what these would FOIL to get. And then you would take the 3 and distribute that through, and you get 6y squared minus 15y minus 21. That is what we got up here. All right. Let's try another one. Okay, so first we check for a greatest common factor. 9, 12, and 4 do not have any common factors. And then there's no x in this term, so we can't take any variables out either. So there's no common factor, so we can just go ahead and begin. So the top is a times c. 9 times 4 is 36. The bottom is negative 12, and we want to find two numbers that multiply to get 36 and add to get negative 12. We know that if they multiply to be a positive number, then they have to be the same sign. It either has to be 2 positives or 2 negatives. And if they have to add to be negative, then they must be 2 negatives. All right, so the factors of 36 are 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9. 5 doesn't go, 6 times 6, and we repeated ourselves, so we're done. Now, which two of these add up to 12? That's going to be 6 and 6. So both of our factors are going to be negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36, and negative 6 plus negative 6 is negative 12. All right, now we're going to bring down our values. So we bring down the first term, bring down the last term, and create two new middle terms. So we have 9x squared minus 6x minus another 6x and then plus 4. All right, then we divide this expression in half and take out the greatest common factor. So on the left side, the greatest common factor of 9x squared and 6x is 3x. 9x squared divided by 3x gives us 3x. And negative 6x divided by 3x gives us negative 2. On the right side, remember we always keep this sign. I forgot to color code that properly. So we're going to take out something negative, and then the greatest common factor of 6x and 4 is 2. So we're taking out a negative 2. So negative 6x divided by negative 2 is positive 3x, and then positive 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. Now, these two, our green ones, turned out to be the same, which is the way that it should happen if we did this properly. So we have 3x minus 2 as one of our terms, and then the blue ones make up our other terms. So we have 3x minus 2. Now, what do we notice about our two factors? These are the same. So we can rewrite our answer as 3x minus 2 all squared. And this would be the best way to write your answer. This is correct, but this is the preferred way to write that. Okay, so I have one more example, and this one doesn't show up on the worksheet we're using, but it's important to some of the practice problems that you'll be using later. There's a couple of things I want to point out. So the first thing we're going to do is take out a greatest common factor, because these are all even numbers, and anytime they're all even, that means you can at least take out a 2. So we're going to do that. We're going to factor out a 2, and that leaves us with 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. And remember, this 2 comes all the way down to the end and will go in front of the binomials that we find. And then we're just going to use this to factor. So let's create our x. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30, and then b is negative 7. We want to multiply to get the top and add to get the bottom. We know that since they multiply to get a negative number, we will have to have one positive and one negative number. So when we look at the factors of 30, we have 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't go, 5 times 6, and then we would test 6, but we've already done that, so that means we're done. Now, the difference of 3 and 10 is 7. So since 7 is negative, the larger term, 10, has to be negative. So we're going to do negative 10 and positive 3. So now let's bring down. We bring down the first term, we bring down the last term, and we create two new middle terms. So we have 6x squared, and then I'm going to get my red in a second to write those. So we have 6x squared minus 10x plus 3x minus 10. And see, I've already messed up. This minus 10 should not be minus 10 because we factored that out. We aren't using that anymore. We are using this negative 5. So this should be minus 5. It's important to pay attention to details, and maybe I should have drawn a bigger line to remind myself that I wasn't going up to this 10. You could even just mark that out because we don't need to use that anymore once we've gotten this step. Okay, so now that we've done that, we split this in half and take the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor of 6x squared and negative 10x is going to be 2x. So 6x squared divided by 2x is 3x, and negative 10x divided by 2x is negative 5. On the right side, we always use the sign that is given to us. So we're going to take out something positive. And 3x and 5 do not have any common factors except for 1. And in most cases, that doesn't matter, but this is the reason that I picked this problem to do for you all before you do your practice, because when there is no greatest common factor in this procedure, we have to use a 1 as a placeholder. So then that will leave us, we'll divide both of these by positive 1, so that just leaves us with 3x minus 5. And now 3x minus 5 is one of our terms. And then our blue greatest common factors, 2x plus 1, becomes our other factor. So if we didn't have this 1 here, we wouldn't know, we wouldn't have that value right there. And that is important. That's part of our answer. So this is our factored version of the trinomial that we started with, which is 12x squared minus 14x minus 10. So, hooray, you did a really hard problem. I'm proud of you. That is all for this one. We're going to practice this a lot, so just let me know if you have questions and you need more help. That's perfectly fine. Thank you guys for watching.